views and opinions expressed on Think and Grow with Vet Green does not reflect the views of Charm City Direct TV Network. Some language, videos, and content may not be suitable for young viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining another episode of Think and Grow with Vet Green. Today's topic is so very important. Today is January 11th, which is National Human Trafficking Awareness Day. This is a topic that I thought was so important because it's something that is not talked about often. It's something that is happening every day here in the U.S. Here in the U.S., it is estimated that 15 to 50,000 people are trafficked every year. And with COVID, we don't know if those numbers have rose or not. Today, I am so happy to bring to you author, motivational speaker, corporate attorney, Dr. Mary Kay Holmes. Come on in the room, Dr. Holmes. Thank you so very much for joining. I feel so honored. You are someone that I look up to. You stretched me to join your book. You stretched me to a place where I wasn't ready, but God sent you to me right on time because he had given me he told me to be obedient by the end of the year. And lo and behold, I came into a clubhouse room and you were in there and you said you were looking for 5 people to join this project that you were doing, Outlive the Labels. And you picked me and I was so happy. And I said, oh my God, like God, you answers right on time and you stretched me. So thank you so much. Welcome to Think and Grow with Vet Green. So let everybody know who you are and what you stand for. I love seeing everything that you're doing out there. You're definitely an advocate. You're definitely someone that people should be trying to tap into. If you're looking for someone that, tell everybody who you are.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It is truly an honor, and I'm always so appreciative every time I get the opportunity to share my story and who I am, because I'm all about spreading hope. That's my mission in life, is to spread hope and to let people know that you can outlive labels. Absolutely. You can outlive limitations. You can outlive lies. You can outlive limiting beliefs. All of those L's, turn them into wins. And I'm someone who just likes to live out my purpose and help other people find their purpose as well. That's why I do collaborative book projects like Outlive the Labels, where I bring in other co-authors, because there is so much healing and so much power in sharing your story. And we know we overcome by the word of our testimony. We overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. So I'm a true believer in telling our stories. And so that's who I am. I talk about what I've gone through, not from a place of helplessness or a place of resentment or bitterness, thank God, because it could easily be the case. You know, many of us, we share our stories and sometimes from a standpoint where we're not yet healed. But I'm so grateful that I'm able to be at a position in life where I can share my story from a place of healing and freedom. And I'm committed to sharing that freedom with others and helping people find their voice and find their freedom. So what I do by trade or my profession is, yes, I'm a corporate tax lawyer and I work for an amazing company in New York City. But my passion and my purpose in life is to spread hope.
And you definitely do that. And you're very, very supportive. So thank you for that, because I was sleeping on myself. And when I got that email, I'm like, oh my God, thank you, God. You are definitely very, very supportive. So if anyone is looking for some help or would like to outlive the label of what you believe you are, definitely tap into Dr. Mary Kay Holmes. So I'm reading your book, Trapped in Plain Sight, and I'm always so amazed at how authentic and just you told your story, you told your truths, all of it, and you were so courageous in doing that. So walk me down this healing process. What made you decide to put your story out there? Because I see you out on social media, and I know that you truly are coming from your heart, and it's so authentic. So what made you want to put your story out there?
Well, I had initially told my story by writing my first memoir, Stripped, A Journey from Rejection to Redemption. And I told it in a time when I didn't know that what I had gone through was human trafficking. And that is a key problem that goes on in so many people's lives and in society today, is that sometimes human trafficking is under-identified and misidentified, misdiagnosed. And so even though I met my trafficker at the age of 14, I didn't know what it was until I was 38 years old. And I was trafficked twice by two different men, and I didn't know what it was in either case. And so I decided I need to write Trapped in Plain Sight to tell my story again from the standpoint of understanding that this is what it was. It's exposing an ugly truth, and also being able to provide resources and information and awareness about what those signs were that I didn't pick up on back then, that my family didn't pick up on, that others who were surrounding me didn't realize were the signs of human trafficking. And so I wrote the story with the goal in mind to not only spread the awareness through the sharing of my story, but to shed light on what human trafficking looks like in the ways where it doesn't get depicted in the media. What are some of the ways that don't get media exposure? What are some of the human trafficking scenarios that exist right under our nose, right in plain sight, that we call everything else but human trafficking? And because of that, traffickers go free and people are victimized. And unfortunately, many of our young Black girls are blamed, and they're looked at as grown fast. They're looked at as being rebellious. They're looked at as being too grown for their age, or whatever you want to put on the, putting the onus on the child or the young girls. And we know it can happen to young boys too. But speaking specifically from my point of view as a young woman, as a child, I was often blamed. And even to this day, I know there are many people who know my story and know what happened to me, but they still struggle with seeing it as human trafficking. They still struggle, and I can hear it. I can hear the voices. Like I don't have to even be around the people to even know what some of the conversations are like. I know that some of the conversations are, that wasn't human trafficking. She could have left at any time. But unfortunately, what many people fail to realize is that you don't have to be in physical bondage. You don't have to be in chains in someone's basement to be trafficked. You can be chained up in your mind. Manipulation, coercion, control, abuse, all of those things can keep you bound and trapped, even if you are free to go at any time. So that's why I wrote the book.
Talk to us about the signs.
Well, there are so many. And of course, no matter how many signs we can talk about, there's always going to be some that you just can never really cover them all. But I can tell you from my situation, from my unfortunate experiences as a young girl, one of the quick signs was when this older man, because I was 15 years old when we got into a relationship. I was 14 when I met him. So at 15 years old, he was 36. And the first sign is when you see these, what people will romantically call May-December relationships with young girls. When you have these older men who are targeting young women, these young girls who are all of a sudden showing up at school with the latest sneakers and jewelry, where they may not have jobs or the traditional jobs or whatever. You don't know where they're getting this money. So if your daughter or your niece or someone that you know is all of a sudden, their lifestyle has taken this dramatic shift, and they all of a sudden have all of these brand new handbags or shoes or designer items, that is one of the red flags that there was someone who was most likely older who was giving her and showering her with these gifts. And these gifts are not coming without some attachment, without some requirement, or without some type of coercion and manipulation associated with it. So that's one of the signs, when you have a young girl or a young man all of a sudden hanging out with this older person. So that's one of the clear signs. Another one was when for example, for me, the first situation when I was being human trafficked, I was being forced into a criminal lifestyle. And so at first, I thought this is what you do. So when you look at the Lil' Kims and the Foxy Browns, when I was growing up, in the songs, it was promoted or encouraged that you were this ride or die chick, and you were supposed to hide keys for your man or transport weight for your man. And somehow this was glamorized and glorified. And so as a young girl, I would travel into New York City and take kilos of cocaine and hide it in my backpack. And it was my job to get it over state lines. And so there were some times where I was gone for days at a time. So if all of a sudden, this young woman or this young man is their patterns start to change and they're away a lot. They're not home a lot. All of it, there's someone that they're with, but you don't know who they are. You can't meet their friends, or they're being very elusive all of a sudden. So that's another clear sign. Another sign is when you can see the control and the manipulation that is starting to happen. So the person might not be physically abused, but there might be some signs of intimidation there, where all of a sudden the person becomes more, they become kind of, they withdraw, and they start to become isolated from all of their friends and their family and their support system. Because manipulators, traffickers, people who control others, they will isolate you from everyone that you know and love. Anyone who can spot those signs, they might try to interrupt those relationships and keep you away from anyone who can help you. And so if this young girl or this young boy all of a sudden starts to sever ties with everyone that they've been connected to, if all of a sudden they become, extremely, they become so isolated. That's the word I want to use. If they start to isolate themselves, especially to an extreme level, that's a sign that someone is behind that. Someone is trying to interfere with those connections and those relationships. And they, if they don't want to talk to anybody or open up. And so all of those things are some of the signs. And like I said, we can never really discuss them all, but from my experience, those are some that really stood out for me.
Is it in your experience that they target certain individuals?
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. I'm so glad you said that. See, manipulators and people who want to control others or that prey on young kids, they look for certain behaviors. There's a certain type that they will prey upon. There's a certain type of child that they know they can get into their head. So these are young girls or young boys who already have behavior issues sometimes, or who have gone through adverse childhood experiences like childhood molestation, or other types of trauma. For me, by the time I met my trafficker, I had already been molested by an older relative. I had already attempted suicide. And thank God, of course, I survived, but the depression was still there. So I had low self-esteem. So people who have low self-esteem, people who have all of these kind of mental health issues going on, they're more vulnerable. If you don't have a close relationship with your parents or other loved ones or an older relative that you can trust, when you are kind of isolated and left alone to your own devices, so to speak, as a young teenager or a young child, you are more vulnerable to someone who would come in and appear to be the savior, so to speak. So there is a type, and especially young girls who are dissatisfied with their home life, young girls who are in poverty. That is a prime example of vulnerability, because traffickers will often come with this hope of a better life, to rescue you from the projects, to rescue you from this life of poverty, to get you off of welfare. You won't have to use the EBT card anymore. Now you don't have to shop at the secondhand. You don't have to go to the Goodwill to buy your clothes. Now you can shop for designer clothes. And those things can lure you into the traps of those who are manipulative and controlling. So those are some of the characteristics of people that can be more easily trafficked.
That's what bothered me so much about R. Kelly, being that he was a Black male and he knew a lot of these young girls' situation. And in their eyes, he was saving them from the poverty that many of them were facing every single day. You have someone that lives in low income place, they say the ghetto. I don't like to say the ghetto. $10,000 is a lot of money. And the way he was preying on these young women, it really broke my heart. And he himself allegedly was also molested. What were your thoughts when you saw what was going on with R. Kelly? What were you, because his music, there were many children, I'm sure, probably even watching today, made from 12 play. What were your thoughts on R. Kelly?
Oh yeah, that broke my heart. And many people watching it, and understandably so, were triggered when they watched that, because I think a lot of people realize, like, wow, this is what happened to me. And for many years, as we know, things that he has been doing had been swept under the rug. When I was a kid, it was no secret about him and Aaliyah. It was no secret. It was so glossed over. And it was so normalized because she was being perceived as being more mature for her age. But when you think about the 15-year-olds that you know, when you think about the 15-year-old girls that you know, think about their babies. We don't just, the problem is because she was an entertainer, she was perceived as being more adult. And that is a problem even with our black young girls in
Mm-hmm.
general.
Mm-hmm.
There's this whole thing about the adultification of black girls. And unfortunately, especially in the entertainment industry, when these record companies put them in these outfits, think about it. Foxy
Sexualizing.
Brown. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
over sexualized. Now think about, now we know that Aaliyah, she would dress, in the Tommy Hilfiger and had the tomboyish thing, but she would have the, the sports bra with their stomach out and have the sexy side swoop, and it was very alluring and sensual. And so you got her laying on top of the car in the videos and moving in certain ways. Would you
Mm-hmm.
want your 15-year-old?
Absolutely not. At
But
50,
because
you're
it
right,
was,
Shamika.
yeah, and so when you look at what they do in the media, it filters over into society and what we think normal life is supposed to be like. So think back to when Foxy Brown did her first video or first major video with Jay-Z. And she's in the bikini and she's talking about carrying, hiding cocaine for him, and doing all of these illicit drug activity, like all the things she was rapping about. I can't remember verbatim what her lyrics were,
Mm-hmm.
but if the song came on, I could probably rap along with it, unfortunately. But many of us
Both
probably
of
can't.
us.
But think about it. This girl, when she wrote those lyrics, when she was signed to Def Jam, when Jay-Z put her on, 15.
15.
16 years old in this, and then it was, of course, I'm not going to go into so much detail because a lot of it was speculation, but we do know how old she was, but how
Absolutely.
she was portrayed in that video
Mm-hmm.
as an adult bragging about doing criminal things that we know. If we think about the 15 and 16-year-old girls that we know now, there's no way that their brains are fully developed to understand the full ramifications and long-term consequences of their actions. So if you have a man who's a grown man that has this young girl rapping like that in his video, what does that tell us as young girls when we're
Right.
that age? That
Right.
tells us if a grown man comes and asks me to do the same thing, oh, this is normal. It became normalized. So with R. Kelly, when we look back to the Aaliyah situation back then, we've known for years. So thank God that finally something was being done. And I believe if it were not for this new Me Too movement and this new wave where people are standing up and speaking up for women and defending
Mm-hmm.
the rights of women more, unfortunately, he would have continued to get away with it because even at first, there was this huge media outcry against the girls, against the young women. Like, oh, you knew what you were getting into, or where were
Yep.
the parents? Oh, they were trying to get put on, and there was this blame with the girls. And so finally, when justice was served, when I tell you, I was so overjoyed and I was so
Believe.
excited for these women who were finally they had a voice, but I was
Mm-hmm.
also concerned about their mental health because I know that they had been badgered in the media. People in their own families probably turned on them, I'm sure. And there was
Mm-hmm.
a lot of comments, I'm sure, that they had to read and be exposed to. There was a lot of scrutiny in their lives, and they had to go through it. And so, although justice was served on the legal side, but these women still need us. They still need us to support them, to defend them, to
Absolutely.
speak up for them, because that to say a challenge is probably an understatement. That is absolutely a difficult thing for any young person to have to go through, especially someone who was manipulated and controlled in the way that he did these women and had them, pretty much under his control and under his thumb. So yeah, I was so happy about the outcome.
It broke my heart when I saw, and we're going to bring Brother Mike in. Come on, Brother Mike. Come on in the room. Welcome, welcome, welcome back to another episode of Think and Grow. We're going to bring you in on this conversation. We were just talking about the R. Kelly situation. For me, I was relieved and I was also embarrassed because prior to him going to trial, I still had his playlist. I still had his music on my phone. And I'm looking at my daughters and I'm looking at myself and I'm like, how could I think like this? In my head, I had normalized it as if because they were black girls, we should have known better in my head, because this is how I grew up. I saw it. Growing up, I remember there was this very young girl, and she was about 13 or 14 years old, and she had started dating this guy who was older than me. It was so normalized. It wasn't nothing wrong with it. Her I believe her parents knew, but it was so normalized. And listening to R. Kelly, just it broke my heart. It broke my heart, and seeing that mom go after her daughter. She went, I don't know if you guys saw that, where she had went to the hotel and got her daughter. That was the breaking point for me. So
Yes.
Brother Mike, thank you again for joining. I know you've had some experience working with children who have been trafficked, and when we had our conversation, you saw it on the other side, where, and there's this thing called Stockholm syndrome, where they have people trapped in their minds as if they can't leave. Like Mary Kay had mentioned, it's not that they're shackled, it's in here that they're shackled. So talk to us about your experience dealing with children who have been trafficked.
Mm. Wow, I've been with y'all for the last 20 minutes. I was definitely very heavily impacted by Sister Mary Kay's trials, tribulations, her testimony. And there's a whole lot of things that's floating around in my head, and I hope that by the end of our dialogue with each other tonight, that we don't just leave it with the trauma, the normalization of how we have become not only victims but predators, taking advantage of one another. I hope that we will speak to somewhat of how the system that we have been raised up under, or not raised up under, depending upon how you look at it, that has separated our families. Our family structure has been disintegrated, and we don't have a lot of times healthy male female relationships between mothers and fathers, and how this helps to impact how our children have begun falling through the cracks. So I hope that we'll talk about some of the institutionalization, through the music, through the movies, through the fashion, like Sister talked about, through the hormones and growth hormones and things of that nature that are pumped into our food, that has children in their mind, in their emotions, um, in the bodies of fully grown adults on both sides of the coin, not able to be naive and grow up as children like it used to be in my era. You wasn't even thinking about sex and things of that nature until you was in your mid-teens or maybe upper teens, damn near getting ready to go into your 20s. You wasn't thinking about um, doing things and participating in things like that. So anyway, I've worked in the field of child welfare for a number of years, and I had the experience. Um, I usually worked co-ed, but then I had the experience where they transferred me to an all-girl cottage, and I definitely didn't want to go work in that all-girl cottage. I was like, oh man, what am I
Being a
going to do
male.
over there? And it turned out to be, at least in the beginning, it turned out to be the most rewarding period of me working with young people, where I felt that I really was making a difference when I began to work with those young girls. I was working with girls who had been taken out of their home. They were in what is known as non-secure detention. They were in trouble in various stages, and a lot of them were participating in what the sisters describing, relationships with older men and guys in general, um, where they didn't have a lot of self love and faith in themselves, to where they felt that it was normalized, like you said. And I was able to take it upon myself as an older, gentleman, to provide like a father figure, an older brother type figure. And I took it as my responsibility to strive to show these young ladies that all men are not out to take advantage of you, and also to strive to talk to them from a man's perspective, of how important it was that they make the effort to protect themselves from being taken advantage. And and while I was working with them in non-secured detention, I was working also in a male group home. So it was kind of like I was like a double agent, you know. I was working with the girls in the morning time, and I was working with the guys in the nighttime.
Mm-hmm.
And I bore witness to how a lot of the guys in the group home, which who were a few years older than them, how they had normalized a habit and a culture where it was like they had a vendetta of hatred,
Mm.
that they were visiting upon young females. I mean, these dudes was like really destroying girls' reputations and taking advantage, and doing all of these, and just
It
ruining their
happens a lot.
relationships.
It happens a lot when you come from broken homes because we
Yeah,
feel broken inside. So we're looking for love. That's what
yeah,
happens. We're looking for love. We're looking for support. And unfortunately, a lot of times we turn to the streets, and that's what happens. I
yeah,
believe that's another way that a lot of people become victims to human trafficking because they're looking for someone to love them. And when you
yeah,
don't have that support at home, you're going to go to the first one that shows you any type of compassion, any type of love. Is that what you found as well, Mary Kay?
Yeah, absolutely. Because
Mhm.
what I thought in that time, because I was so broken and damaged by those adverse childhood experiences, like the molestation and
Mhm.
like the rejection that I experienced among my family members, I felt like
Mhm.
I didn't fit in. Like being told that, I was adopted, even though I wasn't, but I was the only one without a dad in my life.
Mhm.
My sisters and my brother, they had a father figure, they had their fathers. I was the only one without a father. So I was teased for that. And so being the youngest, being the baby in the family, my mother, I saw her really struggling, and she was working hard trying to. And so by the time it got to me, she was very lenient, and she wasn't as involved because she worked long hours, and so I didn't have a lot of experiences with her, unfortunately. And so because of all of these things kind of jumbled up into one, I felt alone. So I didn't feel like I had that love, and I didn't feel accepted in my own family. So absolutely, by the time this man came around, with all of this money, with all of these gold chain, two gold chains and diamonds in his teeth and rims and all of that stuff, and ready to give me the world, I
Mhm.
felt embraced. I felt loved. I felt finally accepted. And so when he, started to turn on me and started to become abusive and more controlling, even that felt like acceptance, because it felt like somebody cared that much about me that they didn't want me to leave them. They didn't want me to look at another man. They didn't want me to smile at another man. And so all of these controlling things that should have been red flags for me, but because I was broken, I was looking through it through the lens of this broken girl. So I was seeing it as that's how bad he wants me, that he's willing to go to these extremes. And I think
Yeah.
that's what a lot of young girls wind up experiencing.
And those are the girls that you were dealing with, brother Mike, and you said that you became a mentor. How did you handle dealing with these children that were coming from these broken homes? What was your solution for them?
I mean, you just have to, speak to them with gut level honesty, and you have to, affirm how important, their lives actually are, how important their futures are,
Mm-hmm.
and challenge them to see themselves in that light. you know so I know that I can speak in a long, well, round way, trying to cover all bases. So I wanted to finish.
Fine.
I wasn't able to, when I was working with the older dudes. I desperately tried, to talk to these dudes about how wrong it was for them to be taking advantage of the girls that they were taking advantage of, and destroying their relationships with their parents, destroying their reputations in the neighborhood. A guy can, unfortunately, in society, can have as many girls as he wants to have, and his stock rises with each
Mm-hmm.
conquest. But when a woman or a young girl um, has a number of partners and what have you, her stock, unfortunately lowers, and she's called all types of names and things of that nature. So I couldn't get to the young dudes. They didn't care. I would say, yo, what if this was happening to your mom? Or what if this was happening to your sister? They didn't care. I wasn't getting through to them. But what I was able to do was I would go to the girls that I was working with, and I would tell them about what these dudes was really trying to do, that they didn't care about them, that they only wanted to use them, that they was only out to destroy their reputations and take advantage of them. So I was able to reach them in that way, at least for a period of time. um I would just, tell them, go to school. I would tell them, you know, leave that alone for now. I would tell them, definitely protect yourself. You don't want no children at this time in your life. And, a lot of them would listen to me. They took the approach that I was, coming to them with as an older brother or as a father figure. A lot of them really, took advantage of that, and I'm still in contact. This is going back like 15 years. There are some success stories where a lot of them were able to go on, get their education, go to school, go to college. Some of them have families now and are married. So I think it was very important work, and it needs to continue.
It does. I agree. And that's why it's so important that we have people like yourself, Brother Mike, and Dr. Mary Kay Holmes, who are out here advocating for the children, who are out here making sure that there's awareness brought to what's going on, because this is something that is done seemingly under our noses. A lot of people don't talk about it, and it's not identified as human trafficking, which it is. There's people in our neighborhoods that are sexualized and taken advantage of, and there's nothing being done about it because it's normalized so much, especially in the Black community. It's so normalized. We have to protect our children. We have to stop looking at children as if they're fast. A lot of times I found that when young girls are overly sexualized, it's because they have been taken advantage of. Many of them have already been molested. Many of them have been molested, and they try to reach out, but no one believes them because they're called fast. They're called grown. I remember growing up and looking at young girls and, oh, she's grown. No, she's not grown. Something's going on with that child. There, and now that I'm realizing it's not that they were acting out, it's that they were trying to get attention because there's something going on with them. So working with the children, Brother Mike, working with these young kids,
Hmm.
we talked about how you've seen it on the other side where they were sort of brainwashed to go after other children to try and
Yeah,
recruit them. That's what I
yeah,
want to get into. Yep, Nick, facts. I agree. It's facts. We have to start doing this. So before we go to break, if you can just talk about what you saw, or talk about the situation where there were children who were human trafficked and they themselves began to recruit other
yeah,
people.
yeah. I
Hmm.
mean, the time that I was talking about, It lasted, I would say, from this was from around the end of 2007 to around, I'll say, like 2011, where it was a good period. We were reaching, I believe, a lot of these young ladies, and helping them, to know that they deserved better, and to learn how to incorporate um, habits of self-love and self-care, and to, begin to move out of harm's way. But around, I would say, the end of 2011, 2012, 2013, to my deep horror and chagrin, at some point, I noticed where there had become a lot of young ladies who were not only embracing, um, selling themselves, for lack of more, a less harsh way to say it, but they had begun to use their influence amongst other young ladies to strive to convince them, to take advantage of getting some money so you could get sneakers and you could get these materialistic items and things of that nature. And, began to would be combative with someone like myself who's trying to talk to them about how bad it is that they're being taken advantage. They would be combative with me, like, oh, mind your business, or you don't know what you're talking about, or
Yeah.
it's not that bad, or she knows what she got herself into, that type of stuff. And I was like, whoa, how did this happen?
Because in
Yeah.
their eyes, you were taking something from them that they thought made them. They were looking at those material things as if that made them, made who they are, because they didn't get that at home. They may not, their parents may
Mm-hmm.
not have been able to afford them. And in their eyes, you were stopping their gravy train. So we're going
Mm-hmm.
to stop and go to break. Thank you guys so much. It's 3 minutes to break. We're going to go to break. Mary Kay, Brother Mike, thank you guys so much. We're going to go to break. Everybody, make sure you stay tuned. This is a hot topic. This is something that needs to be discussed. We need to bring awareness. We need to make sure we protect our kids, save our children. We are not fast. We just got hurt. That's it. We got hurt.
Yes.
Tell me what you see when you're looking at me. A pretty face? Huh? You think that's all I can be? Tell me what you see when you're looking at me. Because I strive to be all I can be. Because you know what? I found her. I found me.
She's here. She's live. She is Vet Green, host of Think and Grow with Vet Green. Watch her live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Facebook at Vet Green. Also watch her live on Charm City Direct TV on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. You don't want to miss this dynamic show. A show of encouragement, inspiration, motivation, and so much more. So get ready for Think and Grow with Vet Green.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Welcome, 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 welcome back to another episode of Think and Grow. So, Mary Kay, what now? What now? What steps should we be taking to bring more awareness to this subject, to begin looking at our children as they are, they're children, and to begin making sure that no matter what, that they're protected?
We have to start to protect our children more by making sure that we hold space like this, by letting them know that they have a voice, that we believe them, that when they come to us and they tell us about some of the things that they've endured. Say, for example, if a child comes to you and they tell you that someone has mishandled them or inappropriately touched them, or worse, believe them, listen to them. One of the ways that we can spread awareness and be there more for our children is to prevent them from ever having to go through some of these atrocities. Like they shouldn't even have to grow up to experience being human trafficked, being abused, being manipulated, conned, and all of the above. They should not have to experience being blackmailed and sex being used as a weapon against them. But if we start to pour into our youth and start to encourage them and affirm them and let them know who they are and help them to understand who they are and build up their confidence, accepting them, embracing them. Even if people don't have situations at home, even if the young children don't have that environment at home, organizations and people like Brother Mike, having other adults that do step in and that are there for them, having organizations and supporting organizations that are doing the work. A lot of times people feel like they can't really make a difference. How can I do, how can little old me make a difference, or how can I make an impact? You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Find people who are doing the work and support them. And if you encounter a young girl, a young man that you can tell they're going through, even if you can't tell, so you don't have to know their business. You don't have to know if they're going through anything. They can have the most cookie cutter, perfect childhood. It does not matter. Show them love, support them, show compassion toward them, embrace them, and really just help them to never have to go through this. Now, if you encounter a young child that has unfortunately gone through some of these types of traumas, some of the best things that we can do is to let them know that they are heard, they are believed, and that we have the ability to, even if we can't change anything that happened, we're here to listen. That they have a voice, that they can speak up, that they can speak out if they so choose. And if they choose not to speak up, that that's okay too. Because a lot of times we'll encounter young people who have gone through things like this, or even adults, and we'll feel the need to rush them to open up and share and all of those things, or to tell, or to press charges. Sometimes they're just not ready for that, and that they need to know that even in those instances, they're still in a safe place, and when they're ready, then that's something that they can take the steps to do and be supported. Because that's one of the things I had to learn the hard way, is that, a lot of times people they're still afraid, they're still traumatized, and they may not be ready. And so sometimes people will say, put them on blast on social media, post their photo, tell on them. And that's not helping them to heal by making them feel as if there's something they need to do in order to, somehow affirm or make it more believable what they went through actually happened. So give them that time and space to grow and heal, and to become free. And let's support those who are doing the work. Let's do what we can to step in, and let's support our youth and believe them.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that. Brother
Mm-hmm.
Mike, what now? I know you are truly out here pounding the pavement. You're truly out here
Mm.
working to save our children. What now? What steps can the people, the listeners out there taking who may have a child or may know of someone who has been sexually traumatized, have been abused? What can we do now to make sure that we bring awareness to the subject, because it's so very important. That R. Kelly situation brought so much light. I'm so thankful that finally, because we have got to stop normalizing this. Because if you are listening right now, it's not normal. If you were 13 years old and dating someone that was 38, that is not normal. We have got to stop believing in our head that this is normal. So what now, brother? What now?
I mean, this may be easier said than done,
Hmm.
but we have to return to the spiritual, cultural values that our foreparents used to exhibit and exemplify. The black community has been, the family structure, the village, um,
Hmm.
it has been torn down, it has been destroyed, and all types of alien entities have their hands in perpetuating values of self-hatred, values of parasitical values, and It's in the music, like I said. It's in the video games. It's in the TV. It's like, you know, this is how these things have been normalized. But it's only us. You know, you're not gonna have any music that's produced, and specifically targeted towards the Jewish community or the Italian community or other communities. You're not gonna have these things. They're not gonna allow it to be done. It's only when it comes to us that you could have all of this music and uh how many gangster movies do we need out at the
Right.
same time? I mean, like, so our dysfunction, our chaos, our self-hatred, it has been monetized, for other people and even amongst ourselves to a degree, you
Yeah.
know. And you're gonna need people, I feel like, who have a spiritual connection, who have a strong cultural outlook, of self-love, of unity, of the responsibility of us to come together so that we can um, bring harmony and balance to the way we get along with one another. We're going to need black men, to take it upon themselves to begin to strive to heal from those low-minded, low vibration
Hmm.
mindsets that we've been raised upon. We got to start looking at our women and our young girls like these is the mothers of our future, and we're going to have to begin to take ourselves through a process to where we start to reassert our presence in the family structure and in the communities again, to join on with our strong, black sisters, so to speak, and we can't wait
We have to
for
do it now.
we just gotta, I'm here, I'm here. Put me in, coach, and begin to continue to have these discussions. And I know in the era of, this pandemic that we're going through, is harder and harder for us to come together face to face. But we're gonna have to, have conversations like this and have forums and have get-togethers, utilizing again the churches, the mosques, the community centers, any and every forum that we can use to try to call people back together so that we can support one another, to rebuild the village so that we can be who we need to be through the grace and for the glory of God. We got to get it done.
Absolutely. That's a great segue. We're going to bring in Coralie. Come on in, sis. Come on in, Queen. Thank you so much for joining. Mary
Hello,
Kay, go ahead.
brother Malik.
Thank you.
Hey,
I'm so glad finally you can turn it that way. The camera
this
that
way.
Yep. There you go, sis. There you go, sis. Mary Kay, come on and tap in on what Brother Mike was saying, and then we're going to get to Queen over here. I'm so glad that you joined. This is a great segue because you are volunteering. You retired from the service, and you are volunteering your services to work with runaway children. So Mary Kay, go ahead and tap in on what Brother Mike was saying. Add to the
Yes, I love the
conversation.
points that you were making, Brother Mike, because it reminded me when you said that it's our community that's being targeted through like the music and the media. It reminded me of like when I was a kid. I remember when Britney Spears was on the cover of Rolling Stone with the phone to her ear and her shirt tied up, and there was this huge media outcry to you know cancel, well, they weren't using the word back then, cancel Rolling Stone magazine, and there was this huge outcry because she was just 17 years old. And there was all of this, even to this day, there's still all of this support for Britney Spears, like this protective nature that society has with this white woman. And when she was a young white girl, there was this protective nature that society had when it came to the music industry over sexualizing her. But Foxy Brown was the same age.
Yep.
Nobody was crying out for Foxy Brown. Nobody was saying don't over sexualize her. No, they loved
That's
it when
right.
she put on the fur bra and had her breast showing. They loved it
Hmm.
when she would talk about Il Nana and all of this stuff. They loved that. and they
Yeah.
promoted that, and
Mhm.
that was encouraged. But with Britney Spears, it was like, no, 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 we can't exploit 17-year-olds like this. But
Mhm.
meanwhile, you got
Mhm.
people like anyway. I'll end it with that. But it's a double standard, and when it comes to our community, it's promoted and it's pushed and it's
Yeah.
encouraged.
And we
That's
have
right.
got to stop doing that. We have got to protect that. We have got to protect our own. We
Yes.
have to. We have
Mhm.
got to protect our own, and we have to protect our women and children, because if we don't do it, if we're promoting it, if we're pushing it, who's going to protect them? And
Right.
this is a great segue. Welcome, Queen, to the platform. I'm so glad that you were finally able to join us. Thank you so much for all that you're doing, because you did not have to do that. You retired, but you
Yes.
decided to go and make sure that you can help protect our children. So your volunteer job is to help runaway children. So talk to us. Tell the platform about who you are and what it is that you're doing with the Dash program.
Okay. The
Mhm.
DASH program, the acronym is Developing Adolescent Strengthens Homes. So what we do, we work with the court system. Unfortunately, the kids that we get are already in the court system. They've already been locked up. So the court orders them into this program. Um, we go to the family homes to get them a break. We take the kids to their doctor's appointments if they need to go. Um, we go help clean the homes. We have monthly meetings with the kids. We have monthly meetings with the families, because a lot of times the parents are so stressed out. And what's
Mhm.
interesting nowadays is parents are afraid of their kids, And I'm like, back in the day, man, my mom looked at me and I was like, all right. Families that don't have food, we supply food to them. We go to court with these kids. We go into the prison systems. The juvie in Charlotte it would make you cry if you go in there. It is full. I mean, it's those kids are sleeping on the floor. It is just horrible. But that's what's happening in Charlotte. We also, like, for those that want to go to church, we have the mentors. We have male mentors. I'm the only female mentor. We have we have a psychiatrist that joined on deck today. We have social workers. We have sociologists. Um, Anything that those children would need, we have that service available. We have a school system for GED, because a lot of them don't want to go to school. So we have a GED program. We have 3 male mentors that actually teach that program. The success rate, every last one of them that go and take the GED, they pass the first time around.
Oh my goodness.
In the prison system, we make sure that the kids are being well taken care of. We make sure that they're still getting their schoolwork. I sometimes go to the school and get their schoolwork and take it down to the prison system. Um, if they have a female, because most of the males nowadays, they don't feel comfortable. I salute you, brother Mike. A lot of the males don't feel comfortable working with females. So whenever they have a female, they'll call me, yo, queen, we need you to handle this little girl. I'm not dealing with her. And it's unfortunate, but with some of these little girls, they uh uh we
They've been through a lot. They've been through a
they
lot.
they have they
Hmm.
have we have one, a 13-year-old, and this little girl, I'm going to meet with her tomorrow, because she don't want to go to school. um she beat up her grandmother, so the grandmother don't want her in the house no more. So that's some of the things we deal with. A lot of the kids that we deal with are violent. um so a lot of people don't want to deal with them. Like I said,
Hmm.
they're in the prison system. When they go to court, most of them that are in this program, if they successfully complete the program, when they go to court, the judge, most of the time, they just give probation and let it go, depending on what the charge is. Now, most of the kids in this program got gun charges. It's like guns are running rapid among our kids. We don't really see a lot of sexual, so to speak. Ours is
Hmm.
violence. These
Hmm.
kids are robbing people. We had one we just lost. He just turned 15 years old. He decided he was going to go try to carjack a guy, and the guy shot him, so he died.
Yeah.
We do dinners once a month where we pick the kids up. We take them to a location and we feed them. Most of them, kids like pizza. So we give them pizza. We take them skating. We take them paintballing. We take them to the trampoline. We just do things to get them out the house so the parents could have a break. And like I said, at Target, if I see shoes and stuff that get marked down, because I work at Target, if I see shoes and stuff that are marked down, I'll buy the shoes. If I have a child in the program and I
Mm-hmm.
notice that, their clothes are not up to par, I'll go and I'll buy clothes and give it to the director name is Alma Moore, and I'll give it to her because sometimes people get offended when you try to do things for them. But a lot
Mm-hmm.
of these kids, it's just like y'all said, a lot of these kids just need somebody to love them. Like
Support.
I'm a hugger. Even with COVID, it never stopped me from hugging.
Mm-hmm.
If these kids want to hug, I'm not going to say I'm not going to hug you because I'm scared of COVID, because it's just another way of rejecting these kids.
Mm-hmm.
So if they want to be hugged, I'll hug them. I'll sit with them for hours and talk to them. If they just want to cry, um, a couple of them, we're getting ready to start financial literacy with them. We got a couple, four of them will be graduating this year.
Mm-hmm.
So to include my grandson, my grandson is in the program too.
Mm-hmm.
That's another whole long story. But he's in the program too, um, which is interesting because I'm a volunteer and my grandson's in the program. Um, it just brings me joy to be able to help these children. Like I said, every morning on Facebook, even on Instagram, I put Save Our Children because we have to.
We have
I was
to.
telling you yesterday how in Target everything is so sexual. They got thongs for little girls. They got
Everything
thong
sexualized.
bikinis for toddlers. And I'm like,
Fashion
why are
Nova.
we allowing this to happen?
Did you
When
guys
are we
see
going to
that?
step up and say enough is enough?
Mm-hmm.
What is it going to take for us to say that? Like, people protest when they protest Target when they put the LBGT stuff in there and they took it out,
LGBTQ.
but they
Mm-hmm.
don't protest the thongs for the 3 year olds. I'm like, shouldn't you be protesting this? I mean, I say something, but that's their moneymaker because
Mm-hmm.
people buy. And the sad part is, I see more of us dressing our daughters like that than I see other races.
And
It's us.
that's one of the issues because in our minds it's normal. We have got to change our way of thinking. We have got to start thinking that these are children. Fashion Nova last year put up an ad. They began selling children's clothes, and I couldn't believe the clothes that they had these children modeling. There were half shirts, tight pencil skirts on little girls 1 and 2 years old. I couldn't believe it. And I'm sure there's people that bought those clothes. I see it all over Instagram all the time where they're modeling these kids and not thinking that there's predators out there who's looking at these kids and they're sexualizing these babies. And this is one of the issues that we have in our community. We have got to stop thinking that we aren't, that we are grown before we're grown. Our
Yeah.
minds aren't even developed until we're 25 years old. So we're making choices and trying to reason and our minds aren't even there. Yes, Jessica, thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. Mary Kate, did you guys see the Fashion Nova ad? I wish I would have given it to E Digger. Did you guys see the when they launched the clothing?
You know what? I didn't see it, but I'm not surprised. I did see. I believe it was Burlington had someone had shared how Burlington Coat Factory had some thongs for young girls, and I remember, just kind of I remember shopping and seeing things like this as a young girl too. And you gotta like think in terms of like who's the driving force behind this. Unfortunately, there's a lot of big corporations and powerful individuals who support these relationships between young people and older people. That's the best way I can put it. I forget what they call it, but they're trying to normalize that even in psychology, so to speak, or in that realm, in that world, they're trying to normalize it and trying to make it seem as if there's a healthy way for those types of relationships to be had. And no, but when you see little girls being over sexualized, there's nothing healthy about that. And when you see videos being shared by mothers and fathers of their little girls twerking and dancing with their butt in the air, and they're dressing them in this hypersexual way. That's not cute. That's putting them. It's like bait, putting them out as bait for predators. And I can even imagine that some of these sales that are being, some of the sales of the thongs for little girls and things like that, there might be predators out there or perverts who are buying it because it's something that they like, or they want to hold on to because it fuels their desire for young girls. So, it's sad. It's very, very sad. Let little girls be little girls. Let them enjoy their childhood and their innocence. Like, there's no reason for them to dress with low cut, pants on and tight pants and heels at a young age and lipstick and big earrings. There's no reason for that.
Yeah, let them be children. Let them be children. Brother Mike, working with these young children, you and Queen, what is it that you see the most of when you're dealing with these kids? Because they're coming from broken homes. Many of their parents may have been broken themselves, and that's why it continues. It's like a curse that's going to continue until someone breaks it. What is it that you see the most of? Yes, let our children be children.
Yeah. Well, as you know, sis, that I keep my finger on this pulse right here. Blame versus responsibility. Again, the responsibility is ours, but the blame, let us not forget that our leadership has been killed, slandered, exiled, imprisoned. Let us not forget that crack cocaine was allowed to flood into the inner city neighborhoods, destroying the last vestiges of the Black village, the last vestiges of when parents still stuck together and looked out for each other's interests. Let's not forget that these children, a lot of the children that we're talking about are the grandchildren of, the crack era back in the 80s, where our, millions of our men, disappeared, where millions of our mothers, disappeared as well, got hooked on crack and what have you. And there wasn't no outcry, like Sister Mary Kay said. We got to treat those who are drug addicted therapeutically, like they do with the opioid crisis that has hit white America. We gotta help them. This is a sickness. When it came to the introduction of crack into the inner city ghettos, and you had people turning and getting hooked on crack, there wasn't no therapeutic mindset on we gotta help them. A lot of our children, flooded the foster homes and group homes, and didn't come up in stable households. So then when you have some who say things like it starts in the home, a lot of times in the inner cities, people are not in stable homes where there's a mother and a father. A lot of them grew up in group homes and foster homes. You know what I mean? I also wanted to point out, and let me take this quick chance to say this. It's so great to hear your voice, Sister Carly. I was telling Vet that, we've been friends for like almost 10 years, and to finally hear your voice is making me smile, So yeah. So I want to give props and praise to each one of you queens, because I see a problem when I look on social media a lot of times, and it's not just the children. I see grown women, showing their backsides and twerking and showing their crack and all of this type of thing. You think that that's not advertising to predators, who want to snatch up women and take advantage of them? You think that that's not advertising to the young children looking at their mothers, twerking and wearing G-strings and all of that type of stuff on Instagram and I don't know, TikTok. I'm not on TikTok, but they use TikTok, to come on. So I'm just saying, when I see my sisters like you, Vet Green, when I see Mary Kay, when I see Sister Carly, all three of you queens, I'm just meeting Mary Kay tonight, but every time I see y'all Y'all not just standing in front of the camera, primping and posing and putting the camera back here to look, put your butt in the screen and all of that. And I don't want it to sound like I'm ridiculing and judging and shaming. I'm just assessing a bad situation. So I'm not trying to ridicule and shame the sisters who feel that that's all they have to offer.
That's
But a
the
lot
key
of
right
times
there.
when I see a queen come and I see the camera, I be praying. I be like, please, please say something. Please represent yourself from your heart, from your mind, from your soul. I'd be like, please, please. And a lot of times, more often than not, you have another one of, our sisters it's been normalized, like we've been saying tonight, that the only thing that you have to offer is your physicality.
That you have
So
to
a lot
serve
of
with your
these
body.
things, yeah, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of these things have to be confronted, and they have to be confronted with understanding that comes from a knowledge of how they were created. It has to be confronted with a spiritual point of view where you see, the validity and the worth of these sisters. You know what I mean? And you want to connect with them on that level.
I agree. Queen, I'm so grateful that you are out here doing the work that many people aren't able to do. I don't know many people that would come out of retirement and volunteer to help children who are coming from these broken homes, who are coming from places where they may not have ever been told, I love you. I salute you for that, because that is something that we need more of. We have got to take care of ourselves. Tell me what drives you to do that. Help the listeners understand how a woman who served time, well, not served time, she served her country and then decided to come out of retirement, because this is the program that you're working with. The Dash program is a solution to help children so they aren't trafficked. Would you agree, Mary Kay, Brother Mike? We need
Hmm.
more programs like that. We need more people like you guys to assist us in this fight, because it is a fight. It's a fight for our children's future. I look at the state of what this world looks like right now, and the other day I was on Facebook and I saw a reel of a little girl. She couldn't have been no more than 4 or 5 years old, and her mom. They were both twerking, and the mom couldn't have been no more than maybe 22, 23 years old. And it hurt my heart, because in my head I'm thinking, she thinks that this is normal for her to do, and what she's doing is she's broadcasting her daughter out here. There's predators that's going to be watching these things. There's predators that's on social media right now looking for things like this. So, Queen, help me help the listeners understand how you could go into a field knowing that you're going to be dealing with a lot of brokenness.
Well, during 20 years in the Marine Corps, I was always the type of person that everybody came to.
Hmm.
I'm a people's person, so I love helping people. I also work with seniors too. Um, that's a whole different other story, because seniors are, I mean, the amount of senior abuse cases in Charlotte will make you cry also. So I do work
Yeah.
with seniors too. But I love working
Hmm.
with the kids because you can develop the kids. You can develop those young minds.
Hmm.
Um, you have to do it in a way where you don't feel like you're forcing them to do something. They have to want to do it. Some of the kids in the program, they really want to do well. And those are the ones that I like working with. Even the ones that feel like they don't want to be in the program, they just come because the judge tell them that they have to come. Eventually, we could break them down. We can
Right.
get to the point where they say she cares, and I just want those kids to feel that somebody care. You know, like I said, a lot of them, when we meet during the week, I hug them. The first thing we do is hug. Any of them that, like, some of them don't want to be hugged. So you got to get to know these kids. Some of them don't
Hmm.
want to be hugged. So we'll bump fists or we'll do whatever it is that they feel comfortable doing. But for the most part, I like hugging every last one of those kids and just let them know that somebody cares, because a lot of these kids feel that people don't care. They
Yeah.
feel that their parents don't care. They feel that their teachers don't care. they just feel like they're alone in this world. So I want to give them a place to come where they can find peace. Even if we just, they say I'm trying to turn everybody into a vegan, which I'm not. But I took a couple of them to a vegan restaurant. They was like, this is actually good. So doing something different with them to let them know that you got to be able to have an open mind. Just don't think in the box. Don't even think there's a box. Expand the things that you do. Um, a lot of these kids feel that, well, I can't do anything. And see, we don't push college because a lot
Yeah.
of these kids are not college material. So where we lead them to is trade school, and we actually have a program with Salvation Army where they could go to trade school for free. The
Hmm.
Salvation Army. So my grandson will be going as an auto mechanic, and they got another guy that's going as a AC mechanic. So we give these kids options, because a lot of them's like, I don't want to go to college. I said, you don't have to go to college.
Yeah, college isn't for
College is for people
everybody.
that want to go to college, but you could go
Hmm.
to a trade school, learn the trade, and then open your own business. So we
Hmm.
give them avenues like that, or tell them stuff like you could open up a t-shirt business, or you could sell lemonade, or you could get out here and sell water. So just giving those kids an avenue or somebody that'll sit down and just listen to them. You know,
Support.
they that makes me happy. That
Support.
to see a child smile, that feel that they don't have a reason to smile, that makes me happy.
Hmm.
That makes
I
me happy.
agree. Mary Kay, what can we do? What should the listeners out there be doing right now so that we can try and end this human trafficking, so that if they see a young girl in a car, or they know of someone in their neighborhood that's, young, and they're being finessed by an older man, what steps can they take? And we don't want to push these children away. We want to provide them with the support that they need.
Right. There's so many different ways that you can help by reaching out to, the human trafficking hotlines and things like that, and report red flags that you see. So a prime example, I remember hearing the story of a young lady who was sitting in a salon chair. She was sitting, and she was at the salon sitting in the chair, and there was an older gentleman sitting in the waiting area. And so another woman who was also in the hair salon just kind of took note that the whole time that the young girl was in the salon, she didn't have a phone. And so she thought in her mind, what teenager sits in a salon for almost 2 hours and doesn't pull out a cell phone and scroll through social media? To her, that seemed odd. Just kind of being aware, situational awareness, as my husband calls it, because he U.S. Army, just years in the military. He's always talking about situational awareness. And so she went and she used an opportunity when the young lady went to the bathroom, and she went into the bathroom and kind of let the young lady know, like, is everything okay? I just kind of noticed, just want to be sure you're okay. And so she reported that. She called the proper hotline and just got the body type of the young lady, her height and build, and all of those identifiers, and kind of secretly, I think, took a photo, just to look out, because you just don't know. You never know. You never know. And thank you so much for putting up that hotline. And so you just never know when you can save a life. I know of someone else who just kind of saw a situation in the mall where they noticed a young girl who just kind of looked scared, and she was with an older gentleman, and this little girl just looked scared, and she's, to this day, she wondered, whether she should have said something. And so even when you see these things and you don't have the opportunity, or you look back and you did not report it, what we can do is, when we have those moments, let it be a sign to us to be more aware. Let it be a moment that causes us to be even on a higher alert, so that we don't let that happen the next time, so that we can cover and protect our children. Let's be on watch, be on guard, and let's not perpetuate some of these images on social media. Let's try not to promote some of these things that we talked about tonight. Sharing images that are promoting hypersexualization in young girls. Mothers and aunts don't encourage and push and post young girls dancing in sexual ways. And I know people who have had their children take these sexual photos of them for them to post, turning around to the camera so that their backside is showing and they're poking themselves, they're poking their bodies out in certain ways, and then you see the children start to stand and pose in certain ways to mimic the adults because they think that's what we're supposed to do. So let's be mindful of how we conduct ourselves around our children, even when we're not around our children, because trust me, even when we don't think they're watching, they're watching.
They're
And the
always watching.
photos that we're posting, you might think, oh, they're not on social media. You don't know. You don't know what they're have access to and what they're seeing. Watch what they're being exposed to on YouTube, what they're being exposed to in TikTok and on Snapchat and other things that they're engaging in Roblox even, or whatever games that they're playing. Be careful because these things will be snuck in right under our nose. And we won't even know why our children are all of a sudden behaving differently or more vulnerable to these predators that are out there.
I agree. Grand Theft Auto.
Yes.
Grand Theft Auto. Brother
And
Mike.
can I say, Queen? I'm sorry. Before we go to Brother, I just want to say, Queen, I absolutely love you. I'm meeting you for the first time, and I love the work that you're doing. I can't wait to find out more about you. I just wanted to get that in there.
Yeah,
Thank you. And I apologize. I had problems coming on because I wanted to actually hear you tell it again. But I shared it a lot yesterday. It was really touching to a couple of people. I'm really proud of you because to see somebody endure what you did and to see what you become today, I am so proud of you.
It's possible. It is truly possible. Everyone is not out there doing bad. There's people out here pounding the pavements. Brother Mike, you are definitely, I see your videos. That's how we met, pounding the pavements because we want to save ourselves. And we realize that the only one that can do it is us. We've asked for help and it's not coming. We have to do it ourselves. We have to do the work. Brother Mike, you are definitely out there doing the work. You're not only working with these kids, but you're also voicing your concerns and bringing awareness to topics that a lot of people have not opened their eyes to. It truly begins in our mind. When we can start looking at ourselves as our true selves, the people that God made us to be, then we will be able to move much differently. I'm praying that one day I'll be able to see that. I don't want to see another video of a little girl twerking. I don't want to hear about another R. Kelly. I don't want to hear about another Me Too movement. It has to stop. Brother Mike, what now? What can the listeners do to bring awareness to this situation and to help our children? Because our children truly are our future. What can the listeners do now? Give them some advice.
I mean, first, you gotta fight for your own mental, spiritual, emotional redemption. I think in this time, if you don't have a faith life, I don't even know. You see so many people. Yeah, you see so many people giving themselves over to fear, and those who are striving to spread fear, to continue to divide us and keep us from coming together, So first and foremost, you just got to continue to strive to educate yourself, strive to gain a well-rounded perspective on things that's historically rooted and accurate so that you can understand the present and why the present is in the bad shape that it is. And then you have to focus on striving to live the best life that you can, as you continue to grow and evolve, take care of your physical health, continue to strive to edify yourself mentally, strive to, bring some type of peace, serenity, and balance into your life. Don't focus on what you can't control. Focus on what you can, like the Serenity Prayer advises us. Continue to strive to connect with a God that wants to save everyone if they would only open themselves up to his grace, and continue striving. I'm proud of each one of you sisters on here, and I'll always, come through if y'all need me, it's wonderful to be amongst, such strong individuals such as yourselves. And I hope that everyone who comes across this video is encouraged and inspired, to get themselves right. Don't focus so much on the bad and what's happening outside of you. Get your heart, get your mind, get your spirit right, and be an agent of change. Like you see these sisters on there doing right now.
Change is possible. You are not your situation. You can
Mhm.
overcome anything as long as you want to. And if you accept who you truly are inside and not accept what happened to you, because that's just something that happens. Some of us need certain things in our lives to be pulled out. And myself, I was sexually abused. I was a young child molested. I was raped. And I realized that I didn't want to become a victim anymore. I lived in that victim state for a very long time, and it caused me to be angry. It caused me to lash out at myself, disrespect myself. And I want anyone that's listening to know that you are not your situation. Regardless of what you went through, if you are watching this video right now, that means you still have a chance. You do not have to be the person that you think you are. You don't have to be the person that society is telling you you are. If you have been human trafficked, if you have been abused in any kind of way, that is something that happened, and that is definitely something that you can overcome. There's resources out there. There's resources such as the Dash program that's out there. There's resources out there to help you overcome that. You don't have to stay stuck, hon. You do not have to stay stuck. So, Queen, give our listeners some advice. What would you advise? And we had a conversation. I just want E Digger to bring this picture up. We had a conversation yesterday. Hey, Sean Don. Hey, thank you so much for joining. You were in Virginia. If you can just tell the story where you were in Virginia and you were at a rest stop and you saw this picture that it astonished you.
Yeah, I was going to DC,
Hmm.
and I walked to go into the bathroom, and I saw those signs, and I was like, wow.
And
I
it,
mean,
it
it was that prominent in Virginia. And then when you actually go in the bathroom, it
mhm,
said, be safe, human trafficking is high in this area. So
mhm,
and now you actually see those signs in North Carolina.
mhm.
So it's just widespread. It's widespread.
Yeah.
But like I told you, everywhere I go, I had my boo boo with me. So
We have
we
to
don't have that
protect
problem.
ourselves. We
But
have to.
it's you just gotta be aware of your surroundings, especially if you travel. It don't matter if you're a male or a female. If you travel, always be aware of your surroundings. Always,
Mhm.
especially if you travel alone. Don't I try to go in. The only time I go in a place like that is during the day. I never stop at night. I make sure I have gas so I don't have to stop at night. So you have to be aware of your surroundings because people are always watching when you think they're not watching. We
Mhm.
had a couple of weeks ago, a little girl was standing at the bus stop, and a white van came by and they tried to snatch the little girl up, but it just so happened that a guy was across the street getting ready to walk his daughter to the bus stop, and he saw the incident, and he was able to save that little girl. So they're getting so blatant that these kids standing out here waiting on the bus to go to school, they're snatching them up for the bus stop.
Yeah.
So one thing I do, I walk every morning, and it's a couple of kids that catch the bus at 5:30. We stand out there and make sure they get on their bus because their parents, I don't know what their parents are thinking. So we stand out there and we make sure those kids get on that bus. And
Yeah.
it's like Brother Malik said, it takes a village. A lot of people say, well, I don't have no kids, but all of them are our kids. So go that extra mile. It's not going to hurt you. It's like everybody want to turn blind eye. Nobody want to talk about human trafficking. I mean,
Mhm.
nobody want to talk about people coming up missing. Here in Charlotte, the Uber drivers where young girls were getting in the Uber cars and they were kidnapping them. It really got crazy in Charlotte for a little while until
Yeah.
we got a new police chief. So it kind of mellowed out a little bit. So you just got to be aware of your surroundings. Stay positive. I love Brother Malik. He every morning, well, not lately, he hasn't been doing it, but he always give me a motivating video to start my day. Or if he don't put it in my inbox, I'll see it on Instagram. So You got to do whatever it takes to keep you motivated, and don't let yourself, like a lot of people are empaths. I'm not. I'm not. I don't let myself be sucked into other people's pain,
Mm,
because I found that I was hurting and it was making me sick. And I'm
yeah.
like, I can't help you if I'm sick. So I've learned how to be compassionate without saying, oh my God, I can't take this. And you got to protect your energy. Always
Mhm.
protect your energy. You know,
Mhm.
you could be compassionate, but protect your energy.
And especially in the line of work that you and brother Mike do, you can't absorb all of that energy. You can be compassionate, like you said, but you have to also make sure that you're filled up, because you're dealing with so many children who are coming from places that you yourself wouldn't want to be in, situations that you yourself wouldn't be in. I remember, before we end, we're going to end in a couple of minutes. I worked in a group home, and before we worked with the children, we had to read their files, and my youngest child was 5 years old, and before he was even 5 years old, he had experienced so much sexual abuse. It just broke my heart, and I realized then I couldn't work. I had to do it another way. I couldn't. I'm too much of an empath. I couldn't do that. I was absorbing it too much. So before we end, I just want to highlight Mary Kay's book, Trapped in, oh my God, Trapped in Plain Sight. This, pick up the book, you guys. Pick up the book. We have got to bring awareness to this very serious issue. Trapped in Plain Sight. Please pick up the book. Read, because it happens more often than you may believe. You yourself may have been human trafficked, and you thought that it was just you being out there being fast, but you have to we have to bring awareness to this. So thank you guys so much for joining us. I really appreciate you so very much. Thank you, Mary Kay. Thank you, brother Mike. Thank you, Queen. Thank you, E Digger. I got the baddest producer. Thank you, Shamika. Thank you, everybody. Yes, you can reach Mary Kay at marykhomes.com. She is phenomenal. If you guys are looking to outlive those labels that they have tried to place on you, make sure you hit her up. Mary Kay, tell us what you have going on right now before we end.
Absolutely, thank you for that. And this was absolutely phenomenal. I love everyone's input today. So what I have going on is writing more books, but one of the major projects is I started a organization called the Halo Campaign, which is Human Trafficking Advocacy and Learning Opportunities. And so we are about to launch next month an actual school. It's going to be called the Mary Kay Holmes School of Entrepreneurship. And the students are all gender-based violence and human trafficking survivors in Malawi, Africa. And the first cohort of women have done an amazing job. They have learned skills where they have now become self-sufficient, and now they're going to have their own building to be able to work out of and to become even more empowered. So we're doing a lot of great things with survivors over there. And here back at home, we do a lot of work in our community through our nonprofit organization. So that's one of the things, one of the major projects we're doing now. We'll be going back over to Malawi in March to do the ribbon cutting of the actual school. So other than that, writing more books, be on the lookout. If you desire to be an author and tell your story, I'm about to put out another book, Survivor, which is 20 courageous women who live to tell the story. So if you desire to tell your story, you can be a co-author in this book, and you can just reach out to me at marykhomes.com or find me on all social media at Hear Mary Speak. So thank you so much, Vet, for this amazing opportunity.
And how can if someone wants to donate, how can we donate?
You can go to marykhomes.com backslash foundation. So marykhomes.com /foundation. And if you go there, you'll see a donor box where you can give a recurring gift every month, or you can give a one-time donation of any amount. So marykhomes.com /foundation.
Thank you so much. I appreciate all of you guys for joining us. Thank you guys. You guys, if you guys are looking for someone that's really doing the work, you see it right here. These people are actually doing the work. We need more of this. We have to save ourselves, you guys. We have got to stop looking for someone to save us. We have got to save ourselves. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, E Dig. I got the best producer in the world. Charm City Direct TV Network. You guys, if you're looking for a network, if you're ready to launch a podcast, hit my producer up. He's the bomb and he's so supportive. Thank you guys. I love you, love you, love you.
Love you
Thank
more.
you.
Love you
Goodbye.
too, sis.
What's going on, you guys? Thank you so much for joining me on Think and Grow with Vet Green. I hope you enjoyed what you heard today, and I hope that you come on back. Go ahead and follow me on YouTube at Think and Grow with Vet Green, Instagram, Vet Green, and of course, Facebook, Vet Green. Come back, tell somebody about this podcast. They may need what you got today. Come on back, make sure you subscribe.